Before we get started, I want to tell you why I decided to re-upload/remaster this Beyond Light narrative review, and the reason is simple. The core message of this video is relevant to today. We are approaching the finale of the Light and Darkness saga, and this is a time filled with not as much excitement as there is caution or apprehension or even borderline fear. And the reason for those emotions, I believe, is covered in this video. Ultimately, Beyond Light is a bad narrative because it failed to move the world and narrative forward the way it needed to. And what that did was it ended up pushing the things it didn't cover into future expansions. And ultimately, now we have so much that needs to get covered in this finale, and I don't know how Bungie is going to handle writing that. That's going to be quite the challenge. But anyway, I hope you enjoy this video. I hope that you do watch it all the way through because I do think I back up my points pretty well. Two things. First of all, I tried to edit the audio to be better. Basically, my younger self had a hard time getting the volume levels right for the music and the voiceover, so if my voice is hard to hear compared to the music, I apologize. And second of all, there is some unnecessary cringe. I've tried to edit out what parts of that I can or I could, but again, I'm sorry for the cringe that's there. It is what it is. But with all that being said, I hope you enjoy this video and let me know what you think. How has Beyond Light aged in your eyes, and what do you think of what I had to say back then? But yeah, let's get into it. If someone from Bungie or anyone who absolutely adored this expansion ever watches this, I want you to know that this is strictly about the story of Beyond Light and how it affects the greater world of Destiny. For the most part, I'm going to be leaving the gameplay parts of the expansion out of this. Now normally, when you see somebody about to give a negative review of something, they always refer to what they found positive about it first. I am not going to do that. I really don't want to come across as overtly harsh or completely one-sided, so what I am going to do is explain the significance of Beyond Light as a narrative, and why it truly mattered in the Destiny universe. My name is Venextron, and I present to you my narrative review of the Destiny 2 Beyond Light so-called expansion.
Get that up here, boy!
I've listened to that melody nearly 1,000 times since I began writing this review. And I used it not just because it sounds good, but I do believe that it is a representation of the tone that Beyond Light was to present us with. The first half, a stage devoid of lighter instruments and distractions, making way for the powerful choir, singing in voices of dread, a warning of what is to come. The second half is a combination and clash of that dread in combat with the persistence of hope, the core of humanity. Keep that tone and identity in mind as we begin. Now that I have your attention anyway, let's get started. Beyond Light is the most important chapter of Destiny's story. I stand by that. And I will continue to stand by that until the day I die. It's the only reason I'm even making this review, to be honest with you. Like I said, I'm not a review guy. If you never played Destiny 1 back in the day, this statement about how important Beyond Light is might confuse you, so allow me to elaborate. When Destiny 1 was released, it didn't have a story. There was no true beginning, middle, and end. There was only the world. The world of Destiny is alive. Even if you made your first character on the first day of the Destiny beta as I did, the world was not created for you. You were simply introduced to it. You were given a city, you were given a tower, you were given vendors for all your needs, and the power with which to protect all of the above. You are not the first Guardian, you are not the last, you are the first. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You are the first, and you are the last. You You were simply another addition to a host of thousands that were there when you arrived, and even more who died their final deaths as legends before your time. As I implied, the story of Vanilla Destiny was bare bones. You were revived, explored 4 planets, and killed a thing to allow the being called the Traveler to heal. That was it. We paid full price for that. My friends, Vanilla Destiny didn't survive its launch because of its story. It was because of the incredible gun mechanics, the wild and untamed crucible, and of course, the mysterious and alluring Vault of Glass raid. That being said, what I think many people forget and probably underappreciate is that while the story of Vanilla Destiny was pretty terrible, on paper it had a purpose, and it did a great job of seeing that purpose fulfilled. It's been a while since I researched the original story of Destiny 1. What I do remember is that it was to be a complete narrative, with a beginning, a middle, and an end. That story was deemed too linear, and so the story was scrapped, and the mission areas recycled and used in the DLCs, including, I should say, the Taken King. The story was scrapped, the mission areas were recycled, but the lore was untouched. It was inaccessible in-game, but it was untouched. Players exploring the Hellmouth, grinding for helium filaments, would find a dead ghost that contained part of a tale about a legend past, and they would stop and think, that's pretty cool. I said it before, I said it again, and I will say it once more. The world of Destiny is alive, and although the story at launch was terrible, it introduced us to that living world. We understood the basic timeline, the Golden Age, the collapse, and an age of Guardians protecting the city, but there was little to no information about the Golden Age. The same could be said for the collapse. But in the Age of Guardians, a rich and vast lore was discovered by the players, not given to them. The researchers among us rose and told the tales they had found of Osiris, the warlock who defied the Speaker, of Dredgen Yor, the one who forged the twisted hand cannon that we had cleansed with the light, of the Iron Lords who had protected humanity from the warlords, of the dragons who had granted wishes and had been hunted down to the brink of extermination in return, of the mysterious awoken in the abyssal death that was the Reef, and the even murkier entities known only as the Nine. Vanilla Destiny's traditional story simply introduced us to the world, but it was the players who seized the secrets within. It was terrible game design, but it worked because it fit the narrative of the world. This world, at the time, was a realm of mystery, a dark age of secrets and lost power, and so although the lore was extremely vague, and at times more confusing than anything else, it added to the world's identity and made players wonder about the next adventures to come. This was the start of something big, and everyone could feel it. What does any of this have to do with Beyond Light? Easy question. In the world of Destiny, we healed the Traveler, killed Crota and his father Oryx, crushed the fallen houses until they burned their banners and fled Earth. The Cabal could do nothing but send distress signals to their Emperor, and we avenged the Iron Lords, becoming one of them. Gaul took our light, but we returned and destroyed him, establishing fronts on new worlds and beginning a second Golden Age. This might sound like the big story of Destiny to you. I am here to inform you that it is not. What I will tell you is that in Destiny 1 and Vanilla Destiny 2, we never even got past Chapter 1 of the story of the franchise. You're probably sitting there thinking, where is he going with this? But you'll find that what I'm about to tell you is something you already know. This is the true story of the Destiny franchise. Humanity in the near future found the Traveler on Mars. It returned to Earth and gave a Golden Age. It had an enemy called the Darkness that tracked it to the system, and the event known as the Collapse occurred, which involved the destruction of the colonies and the sacrifice of the Traveler, which forced the retreat of the Darkness. The last act of the Traveler would be to create the Ghosts, which of course made the Guardians. After years of struggling, humanity established its one city under the Traveler. After the Collapse, different alien races invaded our system for different reasons, and took over several planets that used to be ours. You want to know what the story is? The beginning, middle, and end? What it means to become legend? destroy the enemy races, take back our worlds, and defeat the darkness. Destroy the enemy races, take back our worlds, defeat the darkness. Killing enemy after enemy might sound like a really boring story, but that's why the lore of Destiny 1 was so popular. Because in a game where we defeated race after enemy race, the lore held secrets about what was to come after all of that. The real players of the end game, of the real story. The Nine, the Ahamkara, the Queen of the Awoken, the Dark Apparitions of Cade 6. That's it. That is the basic concept that has been stretched over, well, it's going to be 10 years. All of Destiny 1 was Chapter 1, the beginning. Look at every enemy race in that game, and apart from the Vex, and I suppose the Cabal, we annihilated them. Chapter 2, or the middle, was to take back the colonies, which was about to happen when Destiny 2 came along, and turned it into something more. Vanilla Destiny 2, for some reason, decided to set us back to square one. For some reason, I get the in-game reason, but for some reason we lost access to the Moon, Venus, and Mars. But regardless, we got new worlds, with what was left of the Fallen, Hive, Vex, and then the Red Legion Cabal as enemies. Although the story of Vanilla Destiny 2 was really fun, and it was certainly far better than Destiny 1's in terms of gameplay, its greatest accomplishment was the beginning of Chapter 2, and the announcement of Chapter 3. The end of Destiny 2's campaign saw the Traveler awaken, and the revival of a mysterious fleet of pyramid ships which to this day have been assumed to be the Darkness. The time would come when we would face these pyramid ships, learn their secrets, and destroy them. It became clear that this was to be many years off, most likely to be used in Destiny 3, but this changed the narrative of the world. No longer were we just killing enemies because last city is best city. This time, we were doing all this with the knowledge that we were preparing for the end game, and we knew what that looked like. The mystery and vagueness was still there, but now an end to it was in sight. And this time, instead of the players being the ones to claim the truth, this time it would claim them, and it was coming for them. Immediately, every release of content could be looked at under a different lens of perspective. Introduce Osiris in his quest to save the universe from some random Vex. I interpret this as the most powerful Guardian returning to fight by our side against the darkness. Give us a random DLC about killing a worm on Mars with a glow stick. Okay, I see that as getting a powerful ally restored back to full strength for the war to come. Make the Fall DLC about the Hunter Vanguard being shot with his own gun. I see the real story being the return of Mara Sov, and the knowledge that she is preparing for the real threat, which is not Riven, not Savathun, but the Pyramid Ship fleet. So as you can see, Destiny 2 has had a lot of seemingly random stuff happen in its stories, but the one thing they all have in common is that humanity unwittingly is preparing for the Pyramid Ships. Unwittingly, that is, until Shadowkeep. Shadowkeep was the wake-up call. I mean, the marketing line was literally, "The darkness is closer than you think." They showed us this high fortress, which looked kind of off if I'm being honest. Bright red just doesn't fit in with the rest of the Hellmouth. Almost like it wasn't supposed to be there. Oh, okay. That sounds like a story for a different video. Moving on. What I want to talk about in regards to Shadowkeep is this.
The source of our disturbance should be right around here. I've never seen anything like it. This must be what Eris was after.
The Hive became an afterthought. The Vex invading the moon? Who cares? Humanity, and a portion of the player base, had the wool removed from their eyes, and the real threat that had been teased since vanilla Destiny 2 became revealed to us all. From this point on, everyone knew we were preparing for the fleet's arrival. We got Saint 14 back, we buffed Rasputin to insane power levels, but in the end, it was not enough. On the 9th of June, Bungie revealed their plans for the future. There wouldn't be a Destiny 3, but instead 3 major expansions each year with seasons between them. Beyond Light, Witch Queen, and Lightfall. This was Chapter 3, and it would have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Discover the truth about the darkness. Destroy the final challenge left in order to become as powerful as possible. Make our own fate. Season of Arrivals was the day that had been foreshadowed for 3 years. The Pyramid Fleet, a force that had been present during the collapse, was here. There were some shenanigans with Nokris and Savathûn, but at the end of the day, the message was clear. For 3 years, we had grown stronger after the Red War, with a roster of champions at our back, and a Warmind at full strength. And in the end, it just wasn't enough. The planets that had pyramids on them were lost, and the fleet demanded our presence on Europa. I just went through like 3 years of Destiny 2 history, and the reason for it is because never in the history of this franchise has an expansion been foreshadowed and hyped to this extent. And I think it's very important that people realize this, as the amount of foreshadowing is a sign that the time of the pyramids arriving was extremely important to Bungie as well. All that time spent hyping up the pyramids could have been used for other more present story beats. Beyond Light was the beginning of the end, and it had to be good. Since the qualities that make up a good story are subjective, I'll quickly explain what I mean. If there are 3 major expansions left in potentially the entire franchise, then major events need to begin happening in the world. We need to see players like the Queen of the Awoken finally get involved. We need to see the 9. We need to see something. Remember, these are the moments that the written lore had been hyping up for so long. Now needed to be the time when at least some of those written parts of the world made it to the game. At the same time, Luke Smith announced that there would be, most likely, never an expansion the size of Forsaken again, which meant that the campaign real estate would be tight, and so each minute of the campaign had to be spent wisely. Alright, now that the setting up is done, I just want to say what my expectations were for the story going in. Now, if you have watched me before, which, depending on the views this video get, will either be the majority or the minority, who knows, you'll know about the Eldritch Theory, a series of 4 videos in which I attempted to learn the truth about the origin of the fleet and the race inside. I have an official response for the theory to this expansion, which I will probably make next, but what I will say is this. I can tell you now with near certainty that the pyramid ships are not the darkness. You might cringe at that, you might think that it's impossible, but I'm telling you, the Gardener is the character who controls the light, and the Winnower is the character who controls the darkness. The pyramids might be allied with the darkness, they probably are, but they are not the darkness incarnate, if you get what I'm saying. They are just ships. with stairs and doors and things that need a race or a people or yeah. At the same time, in Shadowkeep, we had a lore book, which was a message from the Winnower, and in it, he said that he would begin to make his way to us starting then. So with all of this in mind, okay, this is how I thought this was going to go. We go to Europa in Beyond Light. We learn the truth about the pyramids, whatever that may be, and we move on with the world and our view of it completely changed. The Queen has come out of hiding and is fighting against the fleet, and being actively seen doing it, I should add. Callus is communicating with us, and is giving us more information about the destruction to come. The Nine, having tested us in the Reckoning game mode, now see this as the time to help us against the pyramids. The end game is happening. It doesn't have to finish, it doesn't have to have a conclusion, but it begins and is in the background even when Witch Queen is happening, and we nuke the Hive for good. The majority of the Fallen are on our side, and so too with the Cabal most likely. That leaves just the Vex as enemies and whatever is left from the other races who don't want to join us. Finally, in Lightfall, the Winnower, the big bad, arrives, and is given adequate time to be introduced, since we already have established the characters that are the pyramid ships, and they, along with the fleet, go for the Traveler. And as Luke Smith put it, it brings us to a moment. I present to you a beginning, a middle, and an end. A complete narrative. Now, I can't predict every aspect of an expansion, but looking back at my time in Beyond Light, and specifically the length of its campaign, I would say that the majority, if not the entirety of Witch Queen is going to be about the Hive. That's fine, as that story needs to be wrapped up. The Hive are still like nearly 3/4 strength, by the way, so destroying them is going to give us a huge edge. Also, if Lightfall is smaller than Forsaken, then it will need the removal of any external distractions in its story, that being the Hive. However, this presents us with an issue. If Beyond Light is focused on the pyramids, and Lightfall is the conclusion of the story, potentially, of Light and Dark, with Witch Queen in the middle, then whatever serious content, story content, that is missing from Beyond Light will most likely get jammed into Lightfall, making things more convoluted and rushed. This is the risk that is presented when you announce potentially the 3 final expansions to the game ahead of time and state that they will be smaller than Forsaken. But they had it all planned, right? Right? If you've gotten this far, or if you've skipped ahead, then you just want to know about Beyond Light. Just a warning if that's the case. I took my time trying to explain as much as I could about this expansion's significance as possible, for it is because of this significance that I am about to harshly review the main campaign and the overall narrative of Beyond Light. Okay, let us begin. In the Season of Arrivals, the voices from within the pyramid on Io would tell us to go to Europa. The marketing for Beyond Light had stated that we would embrace the darkness, with a quote from Varix asking us what we had seen out there. Embracing the darkness being a reference to stasis, of course, and what we had seen out there being the truth about the pyramid ships. I say this because when Varix asks the question, we are shown pyramid ship architecture, so I don't consider this to be an unrealistic interpretation. At the same time, however, the marketing also stated that Aramis, a fallen ship stealer from the House of Devils, would be the antagonist of the story. I looked at this and thought to myself that it would be like Forsaken. Uldren was the antagonist in the marketing, and certainly he was a villain in that expansion, but the real antagonist was Riven of 1,000 Voices, and behind her, Savathun. In my mind, Aramis was the B villain to be thrown at us in the start, with the pyramid on Europa getting the spotlight for the second half of the story. We had been teased in Shadowkeep with the small explorable area of the pyramid ship on the moon, and therefore, before the not as big as Forsaken announcement came, I truly believed the pyramid on Europa would be its own destination, or perhaps even a raid location. But what I wanted above everything else, more than fancy locations, a new enemy race perhaps, or even a good end game of the playable game, was the truth about the pyramid ships. All that foreshadowing in the final cutscene of Vanilla Destiny 2. Pretty much the real story of Shadowkeep, the maps of Season of the Worthy, and the entirety of Season of Arrivals had been about the journey of the Pyramid Fleet from outside our galaxy to here, their arrival, and the consequences of that arrival. All of this was setting up Beyond Light. Alright, I'm gonna keep it real with you, right? I feel like I need to keep gathering evidence about how everything is setting up Beyond Light, and the reason for this is because, like I said, I'm gonna go really hard on this expansion, and I know I'm a butthurt Pyramid Ship fan who didn't get what I wanted, but when I look at everything that I've found, everything that I've researched, everything that I've seen, I truly believe that the facts give me the vindication I need. And that is honestly why I'm making this review. I'm not just salty, I'm not just butthurt. From now on, because we're getting close to the proper review, I do feel like I am very much vindicated with this. Alright, I'll continue. I mentioned that the marketing had shown Aramis as a villain, but was she shown once in the cinematic trailer? No. The focus of the highest quality trailer was the pyramid ship on Europa. And as the stranger stated, this is what I brought you here to see. This was a message to us, the players, as much as the other characters in that trailer. Aramis was not what we were going to be shown. The Fallen were not what we were going to be shown. The Vex were not what we were going to be shown. No, I will say it again. The pyramid ship is what we were being brought there to see. Beyond Light comes out. I start the first mission, and I get this cutscene. You can thank Evade for the cutscene footage in this review, by the way.
People of the last city, humanity has endured a devastating blow. Vanguard scouts have confirmed that Io, Mars, Titan, and Mercury have disappeared. We don't know why. We have lost contact with Deputy Commander Sloan and Jensen Scribe Ashamir. We are deploying Guardians to all corners of the system to find answers. And with those answers, we will form a plan. In the meantime, we ask that all lightless civilians remain within the safety of the city walls, under the protection of the Traveler. Do not lose hope. Humanity has survived many horrors. We have done so through the strength of our community, through steadfast commitment to one another. Stay strong. Be brave. The Traveler protects us, and we will protect you. The Guardians will come through. They always do.
I have to say, everything looks great, because the story and the world is moving forward as it should be. Bungie has a smaller budget and team to work with here than they did with Forsaken, so they're using a different style of cutscene instead of the expensive blur cinematics. Smart move, I like it. Io, Mars, Mercury, and Titan are gone. Poof, out of thin air, and humanity is freaking out. Okay, this makes sense. The Lightless are brought into the city for shelter. Makes sense. Guardians are sent to scout and get answers. Yes, thank you. I happen to be needing answers right now. And there's the Queen. They specifically show the Queen. Huh. I wonder if we'll see her at all in this expansion. We get Variks sending out his distress signal. The purpose of this cutscene is clear. Variks is someone we know, and someone who perhaps can give us answers. Also, his distress call is about stasis, which, as I stated in one of the Eldritch videos, is what the pyramids want us to have. This is fine. Makes sense, okay. Our Guardian is on Europa. Why? They are looking for answers, and Europa seems to be the place to look since the pyramid on Io told them to go there. This quest of finding the answers about the missing planets and learning about the fleet seems to be the priority. Thank you, Commander. And even though our ghost refers to the death of Cade 6, he still suggests that we leave Verex to another Guardian. Just think about that for a second. The simple truth is that this pyramid ship represents something bigger than all of the other characters. And our ghost pretty much said this when he offered to get someone else potentially avenge Cade. The Guardian says no, we help Verex. And although it's not what I personally would have done, I have no issue with this decision being in the game. Even though we often forget it, our Guardian is their own person. This was shown when they decided to kill Aldrin without our input, and so they will make decisions that might go against what we want. Okay, makes sense. Moving on. It's in the next cutscene that we are introduced to Aramis. Here we get her motivations. Aramis blames the Traveler for her people suffering over the centuries and wants to use stasis to destroy it. That's it. No, that is actually it. This isn't even the big speech that she gives later on, and I can already tell her motivations. And you know what? I don't care. As a player, I learned about the Fallen's collapse years ago in Destiny 1. It painted the Traveler in a bad light, to be fair. I mean, what if it does it to us? But in the end, I and many other players pushed that aside and continued to kill Fallen without remorse. As Guardians, our duty is to humanity, and any threat that faces it must be destroyed. That is just how it is. We had our collapse, like the Fallen did, and after centuries of creating a single city and securing the territories around it, we lost it and had the light taken from us. Did humanity cry and curse the Traveler for doing nothing? No. Instead, humanity, scattered and lightless, took back the city from Gaul. I don't know how old Aramis is, but it does seem as though she was there at her people's collapse. I'm just going to assume she is. If I'm wrong, it's no big deal, I don't think. So you're telling me that after centuries of watching the Fallen be scumbags and pick fights they can't win, even against the lightless Guardians, might I add, that you think, first of all, you're justified, and second of all, you have a chance at actually achieving your goals? I don't buy it. I'll go into more detail about Aramis later in this review, but what I'll say is that this first introduction left me unimpressed. This is a weak villain, a pest, a villain I have no connection to, a villain I have no history with, and a villain I can't take seriously. It's okay though, because you know what villain I do have a connection to? Who my people do have a history with? Who I take very seriously, and I think that's pretty cool, the pyramid ship chilling behind me. So if our Guardian is smart, they'll take Verex and be on their way. Hopefully. I'm adding this segment in after reviewing the script because a very apparent theme that you're going to see with me is urgency. And for the sake of immersion, I want you to share it as well. Remember, so much time, so much hype has been put into this expansion, and it has one goal, one purpose: move the world forward, end the teasing with the pyramid ships, and give us at least a portion of the campaign to learn something significant. Remember, there doesn't have to be a conclusion, there doesn't have to be a big massive battle or anything like that. Just something. If this is smaller than Forsaken, then that means for every mission or cutscene that doesn't matter in the bigger scheme of things, then that is more information that won't be in this expansion. Remember this urgency going forward. Our Guardian frees Verex, and he tells us to go and stop Aramis. She's gonna kill us all! Okay, listen buddy. I'm just a hunter. I don't have a vanguard. I was stuck trying to fix the reef for an awoken queen who's role-playing as the last-minute savior in deep space. Then I had to go to the moon to deal with Crota's entitled rejects who finally grew up. I had to shut down Vex portals from the Black Garden, bring somebody back from the dead, stop a sun killer from ramming into my home. You lost an arm, pal. I just lost 4 planets and I want to know how. So forgive me if I'm a little preoccupied at the moment. In my headcanon, after going out, seeing Aramis and all of her buddies using stasis, In my headcanon, my character was like, no, I'm good, thanks, I'm gonna go to the pyramid ship now. But then, Varix is just like, okay, can you just put these relays in the ground so that I can evacuate with my friends? And you know what? That's a doable request. That's fair. I'm on my way out. I'll just put these things in the ground and then I'll be off. Okay, that's fine. Our guardian is busy sticking these relays in the snow when out of nowhere, this happens.
Okay, Varix, that's 2. Did you hear that? Sounded like voices.
What? Who?
The ones who spoke through me.
Must hurry then. There's one more relay.
It's them. They're here. They're beckoning us. We beckoned. You answered. We kept you waiting long enough. Come to us. Salvation awaits. The light believes you thankless. Nothing more than a soldier asked again and again to do its bidding. So we want to thank you with a gift to help you finally take control.
You have no idea how utterly relieved I was to hear those beautiful voices again. You've waited long enough? Are you kidding me? This is what I wanted. We travel towards the pyramid, with the voices communicating with us, until finally we get this cutscene.
And here comes our guardian, right on time.
We meet the gang, and the stranger tells us to accept the darkness. This is what the cinematic trailer was about. Okay, I'm going to stop the review and my excitement here and just say that this is it. You know, the positive part of Beyond Light's campaign. Because after this, everything goes downhill. I didn't know it at the time, but that little sparrow trip is the last time any meaningful content with the pyramids is experienced. Why? Why? Alright, let's get back to it. That structure sent from the pyramid is called a ziggurat. It has these 4 things that you can attune to in order to unlock stasis seals. After the stasis seal is unlocked, you go to a crux and commune with it. You get stasis for like 250 seconds, and then it's taken away from you. I'm sorry, but this is such blatant teasing and prodding. The pyramid ship wants to give us stasis. This is obvious. And the game even says that they were inviting us into the ship. This is proven at the end of the story when we go inside it and, spoiler alert, unlock stasis. So why is it that I have to jump through all these hoops to get stasis, when my character is literally standing in front of the pyramid saying, "Take me! Take me!" If in the end all you have to do is stand in front of the statue of the gardener to get stasis, then why couldn't we just get stasis on the moon? I mean, it looks like Eris got it that way. And if you say it's because the one on the moon was inactive and there was no one inside, then why couldn't I see them here? Let's step back from the story, okay? Let's just take a step back. The truth is that stasis was the toy in the Happy Meal that was beyond light. Fair enough. There are these missions that are pretty unimportant and pretty short, all things considered. But at the right moment, the epic music kicks in and you get stasis and you're having a blast. And then the toy gets taken from you, thrown into the snow pile, and you have no choice but to start digging until you find it again. Talk about padding. This is a story review, and long story short, the campaign story is stasis. That's it. Man, I get so mad thinking about this. Anyway, after the crux is communed with and you use and lose stasis, Varix tells you to go after Phylax.
Who's Phylax?
This expansion just tried to copy and paste Aldrin, Sov, and the Barons.
What?
Are you
No way.
kidding
Serious,
me?
man?
This is the equivalent. Okay,
speak
people
to me,
don't really
speak
get
to me.
what's so bad about
Bring
this,
it,
okay?
okay.
Because Forsaken was
Yeah, it
great
was
and its
10
formula
out of
seemed
10.
to work.
Brilliant.
This is the equivalent of marketing Forsaken around Riven and the Dreaming City
Okay, that's
Curse,
cool. Yeah.
first off, and then making you
Yeah.
go through Aldrin and the Barons first without
okay.
Cade
Oh.
being dead.
Oh.
I can see it
Oh,
now.
that.
Savathun has used an Ahamkara to take the city, and if she is successful in her endeavors, then the Hive won't need their worms
The
anymore
Lord does say
and will
that.
become infinitely more powerful and kill
That's
us
true.
all. You must stop
Sounds
them.
good. Okay.
But yo, broski's there was
bros.
a prison break, and
Yep.
Aldrin and his zombie fallen are playing in the
That's a
space
bunch, you didn't say it
dumpsters. You
first.
gotta go clean it up first. Sorry.
They did say that.
That's it. Like that's really what the equivalent is.
Yeah,
Can
no,
you
I'm
imagine if
convinced.
that was
I'm
Forsaken?
convinced.
Oh,
You're too
boy.
good. You're too good. You're too
Yeah,
you win.
so you grind a bunch. You fight Phylax and win because. Then you grind a bunch, kill Praxis because. And then you grind some more and beat Aramis because.
Stasis!
Forsaken, in my opinion, is the best expansion the franchise ever had. And even I consider the Baron part to be the most lackluster. Unless you develop a villain's allies, a considerable amount, in-game, not in a blog somewhere, or give the player a significant reason to want them dead, their missions will always be viewed as padding before the main event. This is why in every expansion, they mainly stick with one villain. Crota, Skolas, Oryx, Siva, Gaul, Panopti, Zol, Aldrin, Pyramid. The side villains that are cool from these expansions are, say, Omnigul and Nokris, because A, Omnigul got her own strike and was the chief representative of Crota on Earth since he was stuck in a crystal, and after we were done on Earth, it was pretty much a straight shot to Crota's crystal. Nokris has a link to Crota and Oryx, who are very well developed characters who we have connections to in-game. He was teased way before he appeared, got a strike, and was later voiced by Mark Hamill. What more do you want? The best side villains are never made into a to-do list before you get to the marketed villain. Screw it. 2 more examples are the console and Axis. The console was only featured in Blur cinematics, and so looked as good as a space turtle could, and Axis was a raid boss. Okay, I'm moving on, man. Why can't I just play games for fun? The fact of the matter is, Bungie did not hype up Aramis and her House of Salvation for 3 years. yet they are the sole antagonists of Beyond Light. I'm just going to say that again, right? This isn't in the script, I'm just going to say it again. The fact of the matter is, Bungie did not hype up Aramis and her House of Salvation for 3 years, yet they are the sole antagonists of Beyond Light. If I had never played Destiny before, and Beyond Light was my introduction into the world, then from the main campaign, the pyramids commit no action that is harmful to me or presents them as a villain in the way Aramis and her crew do. So I'd nearly be fooled into not knowing that the pyramids are villains or objectively evil. It's a stretch, but you get what I'm saying. I'm a lore fanatic, and I only saw her name once in the 0 Hour mission. That's it. I don't know who a Phylax is. Oh, you say she killed a bunch of Guardians. Maybe somebody I cared about? No. Okay, then I shouldn't be expected to care. Praxis is even worse, to be honest. At least Phylax had that warrior mentality that was somewhat entertaining. There's Atrax, sorry, I nearly said A-Train. There's Atrax, who gets 0.50 seconds of a cutscene that acts as a teaser for the raid, and then there's Tanyx. Tanyx is okay. I like killing Tanyx. I'm playing this, killing Fallen, more Fallen, Vex, and more Fallen, and in the back of my mind, all I can think about is, this isn't the real story, the best is yet to come. The adventure is only just beginning. After Aramis, I unlocked the final stasis seal and I get teleported into the pyramid ship. We did it, boys. After all that nonsense, we are going to get answers. The actual story of the world is about to move forward. Whatever's inside the pyramid has wanted us to be in this very position since June. And now they are going to enact the next stage of their plan. Will they reveal themselves to us? Will they attempt to persuade us to join them? Will they outright just try and kill us? Aha, we got our one threat in the place where we can kill him. Either way, salvation awaits, right? It's a copy and paste of the final part of the moon pyramid. There's nobody there. Not even the voices from the Spiral trip. You stand in front of the gardener statue and achievement unlocked. The Happy Meal toy is yours.
Jesus!
No,
Jason!
no, get out, get out. You're not funny, you're not cool. You're the only reason you're even here is because I stepped in the dog crap that you are on my way here. Ow, no, no.
I'm sorry.
Now you better be sorry. Better not do it again. Man, I hate that guy. Get teleported back to the stranger, get a pat on the back from her and Varix, and a look of disappointment from Zavala. Poor guy wanted answers, all he got was another problem. That's the campaign. I was so upset after entering that pyramid that as soon as I saw the grind that was Varix's tasks for Europa, and the repetition that was the grind for the stasis fragments and aspects, I quit the game for the day. Out of all my friends, I felt like the only one who was disappointed. Everyone else was just happy to have new content to do, and I don't blame them. They'd had to endure a single season for 5 months. Just getting stasis was enough to satisfy them. Besides, Bungie said that the secrets of Europa wouldn't be revealed until later. They had this whole roadmap planned out. And where was all the pyramid architecture from the trailers? No, there must be more. Maybe a dungeon about the pyramid ships. Maybe the raid would have the information we needed. After all, the lore in the Collector's Edition stated that Clovis Bray used the darkness in the Deepstone Crypt in the form of clarity control. So there must be something there. I was angry. I was upset. I ranted a lot. But I did my best to hold on to hope. Hope that was in vain. In Destiny 1, we heard nothing about the darkness. Learned pretty much nothing about the Traveler or the Light. But that was okay at the time. The identity of the world was a mystery. And in order to begin solving that mystery, we had to reclaim our solar system. It just made sense. I needed to kill Crota to reclaim the moon. I needed to break the fallen houses because they had tried like twice to take the city. I needed to go to the Black Garden because I was led to believe that destroying its heart would heal the Traveler, and who knows what that would mean. I needed to stop Oryx because one blast from his Dreadnought's main gun killed an entire fleet, and he could spawn Taken on every planet in our system just by thinking about it. Was the lore incredibly vague? Yes. Were there more questions than answers? Yes. Was it poor game design? Frankly, yes. But it worked, because Chapter 1 of Destiny's story was to defeat the enemy races in order to take back our worlds. Destiny 2 removed the concept of reclaiming those colonies, replacing it with the preparation for the pyramids. The pyramids came. They are here. Do you want to know why I dislike the narrative of Beyond Light? Try to answer these questions. The pyramids have been here since June. After nuking 4 planets, do you know where they are and what they've been doing? At the end of the Shadowkeep campaign, we saw Eris Morn interact with the statue in the pyramid. What was that? What did it mean? Why did she have stasis in the cinematic trailer? Did she collect the 4 stasis seals on the moon without telling us? What is Eris Morn going to become? In the lore, the Drifter was on an icy world with monoliths that had gooey black creatures that suppressed light. Did he recognize the pyramid architecture as those monoliths? That would give us a lot of information if he did. Does he have any purpose on Europa? The Queen of the Awoken has been gone for so long because she was apparently working with the Nine to prepare for the pyramids. Where is she? What is she doing? Yeah, I get it. There's like this one little recording that she has, but that's not good enough for me. This is a full expansion. I want more than a little recording, thanks. Where are the 9? Actually, like, where are the 9? What are they doing? What was the point of Reckoning? You're telling me Reckoning was for Lightfall. Now get out of here. What do the 9 even think about the current situation we're in? Because according to the lore, they were kind of split about it. They're split into 2 groups of 4 and 5. So what's the story with that? You're telling me I have to wait another 2 years for that? No, I don't think so. Callus is gone, along with his Leviathan. He said he had plans for us. I mean, where is he? What is he doing? The cinematic trailer for Beyond Light emphasized the importance of Eris Morn and the Drifter in this story. What did they accomplish in that entire season? Apart from, cooking beside the campfire. What is Clarity Control other than a statue sitting on a platform? How did the statue get there? Can we be told officially what it is a statue of, please? I've been saying it's the gardener because when I show you this picture and you look at the statue, it's like, okay, that's the gardener. But Bungie hasn't officially said it yet, so can we, say what it is now? Please. I don't want to wait until 2022 to put a label on a statue. Speaking of the statue, what lies under the ice of Europa? I was rewatching the trailers because I had to record them for background footage. And one of the big things is, what lies underneath the ice? I don't know. Tell me. What is it? Apart from the red stuff. And I'm going to include this in my Enceladus video, the whole thing about the red ice. But what is it? I'm genuinely curious now. And by the way, it's not the Deepstone Crypt. You can see that from miles away. And half the raid is in space. What is the race that's inside the pyramid ships? What is the darkness? Why is the Scarlet Keep on Europa? Okay, different video. Okay. I played the campaign of Beyond Light. I have done the raid countless times. I did it yesterday, and I did it today, by the way. And I read the lore books. I met Clovis Bray, did his challenges each week, and still, I feel as though I learned nothing about what matters. I learned a lot, but not about what matters. I feel like this expansion is the biggest example of a character being sidetracked in the history of gaming. We were this close to greatness, and you had to kill those fallen. And just to say the stuff that I found good, right? I read the lore surrounding Clovis Bray before the collapse, and I have to say, this was really well done. To the people that wrote this, I truly enjoyed it. I think he is an exceptional character. I was always curious about him back in D1 and early D2, and I think that now he's an exceptional character that the narrative team at Bungie has done an amazing job of bringing to life. I think, honestly, Clover Spray is probably like one of my favorite things about the whole expansion. I liked the interactions between Anna Bray and Elsie Bray, her sister, who is the Exo Stranger. I have a really hard time saying this because I hate Anna Bray with a passion. I'm sorry, she's a deserter, and I lost all respect for her after seeing that, but anyway. Nice relationship. It's cute. The voice actors did a brilliant job of creating that relationship, and I look forward to seeing how it develops in the future. Speaking of Exos, I actually found it incredibly fascinating to hear from the people who had to undergo the process of becoming an Exo. And the explanation of the origin of the Exos made a lot of sense, in regards to the Vex and their homeworld and all that jazz. The only thing that I'm a bit confused about still is clarity control and how that ties into things. But for the most part, yeah, great origin story, makes sense. There was only one piece of written lore, anyway, that I outright disliked. It was the lore book concerning Elsie Bray's dark future, and I guess anything to do with her even mentioning this dark future. It was very similar to Callus's fanfiction that he had written about us. The Shadow of Earth. That was cool. The key difference between that fanfiction and the dark future lore was that Callus was claiming that to be our future. Elsie pretty much confirms that by her being in Beyond Light, she has changed the future. So that lore book, and this dark future being the great secret of Beyond Light, it's completely worthless and pointless. It doesn't matter at all. It's in the place of lore that could have actually mattered and helped us. Also, okay, I actually ended up writing a whole paragraph just about this, because I was playing the Deep Zone Crypt and it reminded me. The Deep Zone Crypt, I think it's fun, but apart from the clarity control conundrum, I think it is the greatest narrative slip-up in the history of this franchise. Now, I have an entire video planned for Enceladus, I've already mentioned that, but long story short, Enceladus was a destination they were planning to make. Okay, they were so confident about this that Cade 6 specifically drew pictures of Enceladus when talking about the crypt, and one of his last words were, "It's on Enceladus." I get it. You guys love the lullaby song. That's sweet, but I'm too busy being distracted every time I play the raid by the fact that Cade 6 will go down in history as either delusional or a liar, and the truth is, a mistake was made by Bungie. And they will never admit that. So that is the truth of it. Cade 6 is going to go down in history as either delusional or a liar. Because it is physical evidence in the collector's edition of The Taken King that he drew pictures of Enceladus when talking about the Deep Stone Crypt. I know it's Enceladus because he has Saturn in the background and not Jupiter. And he says it in-game on Titan when you're doing the Ace of Spades quest, it's on Enceladus. This really bothers me. It really bothers me. And especially when we talk about the Enceladus situation in my Enceladus video, the reason why this happened as well, it's just sad. But that's all I'm going to say on the raid. It's a fun raid gameplay-wise, I love it. It's not my favorite raid, but I love it, and the gear is great, but story-wise, it's a bitter pill to swallow. That's all I'm going to say. It just frustrates me so much, because normally, alright, let's just say this normally happened in an expansion. Okay, let's go back to D1. Let's say it happened in D1, which probably wouldn't happen, because we never really had 3 years of foreshadowing in D1, but anyway. Normally, I would give Bungie the benefit of the doubt. Okay, and I would just sit tight for the next expansion. But I know what the next expansion is, and because I know it will be as large as Beyond Light, I know that if the title is Witch Queen, then it's going to be mainly about the Hive. So if you're watching this, and you have serious questions after playing Beyond Light, as I do, then there is a chance you'll have to wait until 2022. That's just a possibility. But the world is pretty much in the exact same position it was in Season of Arrivals. But the seasons! Oh please! Season of the Hunt was free marketing for Witch Queen, nothing more. As for the other seasons, I do not want what should have been in a fall expansion to be placed in a 3-month period of grind the battle pass and play the Happy Guardian games. I would rather never learn anything ever again than see a villain like Aramis get an entire expansion and the villains that have been hyped for 3 years get a season. Seasons are for marketing expansions and keeping the revenue flowing. That is the business of it. And I'm not against that. If Beyond Light fulfilled its purpose, I would be defending the stories of each and every one of these seasons, because Bungie does not have the marketing power of Activision anymore, or the ability to make expansions as big as Forsaken. Therefore, I understand the need to make up for this with seasons. What do you think the purpose was for Seasons of Dawn, Worthy, and Arrivals? It was for setting up Beyond Light. It was marketing for Beyond Light, and it makes sense. But now, if you want certain information in Beyond Light that wasn't there, that ship has sailed, and you can expect it most likely in Lightfall, unless they hammer it into Witch Queen, in which case a villain that has also been hyped for 3 years, might I add, will get shafted. All because of Aramis' skill. You see my problem. This is why the first half of this review was explaining why I'd be this mad. Take away 4 planets and give us ice powers, and there you go. That's it. I haven't ranted much about the gameplay side of the campaign because that isn't my biggest concern, it's the narrative. It's the consequences that this expansion will have for the future. Witch Queen needs to happen, okay? We're still looking at like 2/3 of the Hive being a viable threat here. Because of that expansion size, this means that so much is going to have to be crammed into Lightfall, and I just can't see that ending well if this is the case. What infuriates me even more is that Beyond Light had the foundations to be great. Europa is a perfect setting full of mystery and buried secrets. The template was already there for a pyramid destination. I mean, you made the locations for the Exo challenges, which are absolutely gorgeous. The pyramid architecture is stunning, and I've had so much fun studying it. Honestly, I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to that kind of stuff. But instead of going inside the pyramid properly, we get the final bit of the moon pyramid. Oh man, I was even looking at the cutscene, and like, there's even that little hole above the statue's head where the artifact was in Shadowkeep. Oh, it's just such a copy and paste. Instead of the Exo challenge areas having a significant story relevance, perhaps say exploring an ancient tomb or city, literally you could copy and paste those Exo challenge locations and just slap a different name onto them. Instead, they're simulations? Is this ever explained? The pyramids are in our system and nothing happens. I'm sorry, losing 4 planets doesn't count after they patiently wait for everyone to spend 5 months evacuating them first. And after that, nothing. These are the guys that caused the collapse, and they're just sitting there? Now, I believe I know why they are just sitting there. But I mean, even if the whole fleet was in the sky above Europa, just sitting there, at least then we'd be reminded of their presence. We have no idea where they are now. No idea. And because of that, everybody's just pretty much forgotten about them now. Now, when you go to Europa, and you look up at the sky, you just see Cabal ships. So stupid. At the end of the day, there is only one label that can be put on Beyond Light's narrative. Filler. Vanilla Destiny 1's story was terrible, but as I explained, it served its purpose well. Beyond Light had a purpose. The time of mystery is at an end now. The characters in the written lore are literally staring at us in game, and the time of answers is upon us. Beyond Light was supposed to begin the process of understanding the darkness before destroying it. And no, stasis doesn't count. There is nothing dark about it at all. People don't seem to get this. It's just an ice subclass. If you were to tell me that that was a light subclass, okay, cool, it's an element, just like the others. And by the way, stasis isn't the darkness subclass if there's 3 others, okay? So maybe stasis is powered by the quote-unquote darkness, but stasis itself is just ice. That's it. That's literally it. And most likely it was because we were on an ice destination. If Witch Queen has another one, there's probably going to be a hive thing. Everybody already is saying that the next subclass is poison just because it's hive. That's how predictable this is. So no, stasis doesn't count as learning anything about the pyramid ships or the darkness. Beyond Light was supposed to answer some of our questions that had been teased. Not by imagination, not by theorists like me, but by the world. And it was supposed to move the world forward and set up Lightfall. And it failed. Not only has it failed, but it's potentially damaged Lightfall. Now all the pressure for a cohesive and satisfactory conclusion is on Lightfall. And if it really is the same size as Beyond Light, then I wish the Bungie narrative team the best of luck in utilizing that campaign size, because Lightfall, for all we know, could be the end of not Destiny 2's story, but the end of a 10-year story. And if it fails because of crunch or budget size, then you'll be looking at an angrier review from me, which I do not want to make. These things take way too long to make, so please don't do that, Bungie. Let's just take a second to chill. Okay. I want to make this clear. I love Bungie. I'm doing creative writing in college, and one of the reasons for that is because, back in the day, I wanted to be on the narrative team. I mean, I'd love to be on the narrative team. I think those guys are so cool getting to write stories for video games, especially developing worlds as big as Destiny. And I absolutely adore the passion that they have for this franchise. If you think that I'm just bashing Beyond Light to jump on the bandwagon, especially since my channel is so small, then no, it's not like that at all. I've actually held off on making this review until now, because I wanted to be certain that every reveal and every secret had been discovered about this expansion. I wanted to give the benefit of the doubt in every case I could. I also want to make it clear that this isn't an objective review, in the sense that I say it's bad, so it's bad. I get heated, maybe I get passionate, but that's just me, okay? This is simply how I reacted to the story, how I interpreted the narrative, how I feel looking back on it all. If you disagree with me, okay, I'm going to disagree with you too, right? But I'm not going to argue with you over it. I'm the guy who digs deep into the lore, and I look at the bigger picture. If you don't care about that and you enjoy the story, then that's cool, man, because it's probably made for you. But for me and my friends, and at least some of my friends, we were disappointed. And I just wanted to make this video to say that I am disappointed and explain why I am. I've already said it, but I'm not a review guy. I make theories and I want to answer questions. It's kind of like just what I have fun doing. I will be honest and I'll say that I'm not excited for Witch Queen. I'm really not. Because they announced Lightfall, and because I know the Hive are probably never going to join us, I already know how Witch Queen's going to end, so how can I be excited for it? But, yeah, I'm probably not going to make a review for that. But if enough of you see this or like this kind of content from me, let me know, and I'll see what I can do. The title for this video at the moment is that it's going to be a complete narrative review of the expansion, and I hope I do a good job of that. My name is Venextron, and I thank you for your time.